Hello. And today we were playing Pervader. I explained to Alan what had happened. He listened carefully and seemed pleased as I told it. Williams, that's good. That was done to help you, confirming that you hadn't been hiding your Pervader circle for a long time. That means they can't lock you up for not showing yourself sooner. It seemed like it, but I'm not sure. Did you tell them where to get someone to defend me? While you were recovering from your injuries, they asked me about you. I told them you stayed at the worker camp. They must have figured out the rest. Do you think they'll let us go now? I don't think so. There's still the prosecutor we have to deal with. Perhaps the marshal is trying to smooth out the process before he gets here. Things are shaping up. I allow myself to hope. So, I'm a pervader now. Can I learn magic? Do I even want to? The significance of all this escapes me. Alan recognized the nervous excitement in my voice and he smiled. He spoke to me about how pervaders learn magic. He told me about pervaders, sanctuaries, secluded communities which take in newly awakened and teach them how to use their powers. I had never heard of that before. All this is so new to me. I never knew there was so much to being a pervader. The Inquisition makes it hard on us to be out in the open. Most of us stay in the sanctuaries away from the rest of the world. I didn't understand that. Alan was always kind to me. Were most other pervaders dangerous like the Inquisition proclaimed, or was he one of the good ones? Have you been to a sanctuary? Yes, I spent most of my life in one, since I awakened as a boy, up until a few years ago. What are other pervaders like? They're just like you and me, Ramus. They're normal people, except that we concern ourselves with magic. If the world were not so afraid of us, we would not hide away. You should have told me you were a pervader. I know. Could you teach me magic? Alan looked away. He sighed and paused before offering an answer. I'm not a good magic teacher. When we get out of here, I'll send word for you to join the sanctuary. I don't want to leave you. You hired me as your assistant. Ramus, I can't keep you with me the way you are right now. You cannot stay like this. You need a proper environment to develop. Wait, hold on. I don't even know what I want to do yet. I haven't thought through any of this. Then listen to what I have to say, I think. People talk. The town will learn that you are a pervader. Perhaps word has gotten out and I may have been revealed as well. You will see how their attitudes change. You will see people shunning you. Mothers walking down the street will grab their children and hurry away from you in fear. Shops and taverns will not want to serve you. Men will curse you and spit in your direction. Likely the worker camp will no longer want to keep you. You may find yourself without a roof over your head. That's the way things are in places where the Inquisition seals people's minds against us. People are taught to fear us. It's easy to make one fear the unknown. The North is safe for our kind, and that is where you will find teachers. Trust me when I say this, you will want to be in a place that welcomes you. It will weigh you down if you try to stick it out here. You've been living in Chariot for a while now, and you seem to be getting along just fine. Why can't I do that too? He tilted his head to the side and sighed in frustration. No, Ramus, Chariot is no longer a good place for either of us. People did not know I was Pervader. That man they called in will spread the word. He will tell them you are one too. Jonah, he's a good person. He helped me settle in here when I arrived. He may know you and be friendly to you, but most of the world won't understand. Whether or not he says anything, what happened at my side was surely being talked about across town. There's a big hole in the wall for all to see, and the Inquisition's handling the matter. It's not hard to leap to the correct conclusion. Ramus, I'm as much a foreigner to everything as you are. Now we're more suspicious than ever. Even if nobody ever comes up to ask you directly whether you are a pervader or not, it will always be in the back of their minds. You don't understand what it's like to live in the shadows of suspicions. One's imagination gives birth to fearful demons. What about you? If the town learns that you're a pervader, what will you do? I'll probably return north, try and pick up where I left off in Boetius. He paused for a few moments as he seemed to recall bittersweet memories. But I'm not sure if that is possible for me. I'm afraid the watch will want to continue to use me. The monster will understand that Chira is no longer safe for me. He may want me to settle elsewhere, perhaps even down south in Pendragon. A rebellious thought and inched closer to him to speak huskily. If we're going to be released, can we escape north? Ellen nodded slowly. Yes, that is an option. I would sooner return home to Boetius rather than travel elsewhere. Truth be told, I'm tired of this land. I've been away for too long. If you go north, can I come with you? Of course, Raymond. The north is a realm of pervaders. There are plenty of sanctuaries there for someone like you. And you could set up shop there? Yes. Then I could keep working for you, right? Yes. Raymond, let's take it easy, okay? First, we need to clear our names to get out of here. Once that is settled, we'll figure out the next step. He leaned back and rested his head against the cold stone wall, looking upwards at the dark ceiling. I don't even know what my shop looks like now. Hopefully nobody has gone through and looted it. I hope my vendors didn't get stolen. Alan shook his head and turned his attention back to me. Oh, what am I saying? None of that really matters. I should be thankful we didn't lose our lives after all this. He put his hand on my shoulder. Regardless of what happens, I want you to know I will help you through this, alright? I'm not going to abandon you. Alan, thank you. Listen to me, Ramus. You can't be out and about with a surgeon like that. It's a good thing you have it on your belly because you need to hide it. If you ever need to take off your shirt to wash it or yourself, make sure there aren't any strangers around who can see it. Most sailmen don't know about our surgeons, but you shouldn't take any risk. Sailmen. That's the word we use for common folk, people who don't have a surgeon. There's a lot you need to learn now. He breathed a heavy sigh. Keep it to yourself that you are a pervader. Understand? Do not go around bragging or worse trying to impress people with magic. But I don't know any magic. Good. There will be a time and a place for you to play around with the surgeon's powers. Now is not the time, and here is not the place. I'm not understanding. And the monster forces Alan to go work for the Watts elsewhere. I would be willing to go with him. He has done so much for me. I feel indebted to him. But going to the sanctuary also sounded like a good idea. Learning magic with other pervaders, would I be mad to pass it up? What if Alan decides to run away? How difficult was it to escape the Watts? Alan said the north was a pervader realm, Boetius. The Inquisition doesn't have any influence there. As long as they don't keep him under tight surveillance, it should work out, I think. Alan wasn't willing to teach me magic, although if I stick with him, I think he will eventually come around to the idea. At the very least, I could learn about enchantments from him, since that is the reason why he hired me in the first place. It was a crossroads I had to consider. Unfortunately, my partner was cut short. The monster of his son had come before us once again. Their abrupt steps and tense shoulders, the manner in which they carried themselves, told me something was wrong. Show me your circle. Again? Don't test me, boy. Do it. His tone was severe, almost savage. I was reminded of the first time I had felt threatened by him. His composer spoke of so terrible a thing that he could unleash at a moment's glance. Alan perked up as well, aware of the dreadful tension that they had brought with him. I complied, and once again everyone stared at the thing on my belly. This has happened one too many times. I was beginning to feel like a freak at the circus. Shake yourself, Pervader, lest you die a fool. I looked down. My surgeon is there. All seems in order, but I looked at it carefully. Something else was there. Together with the surgeon was a new scar that which glowed in eerie blue. My fingers went to touch it, but it felt nothing out of the ordinary. It was as if it was really there, except for the eyes to see. It radiates a disturbing sense of unnaturalness. I ruffled the fur, scratched at it, but nothing happens. It pulsed rhythmically, turning to a slightly paler blue. The unsettling nature of this new thing made my heart race. Then I realized that the scar is pulsing to the rhythm of my heartbeat. Alan went and placed his hand over it, feeling it as I did. This. He turned to look at the marshal. What do you know about this? The marshal sat in the chair opposite our cell. He rested his head in the hands, scratched on top of his head. His fingers were almost violent, as if threatening to scalp himself. He sat there for a while, abusing himself. I grew nervous, and Alan seemed to reflect my mood. The marshal stood up suddenly and stepped forward with haste. He quickly unlocked our cell, calling me. He turned away, expecting us to follow. We were led out through the jail door and into the hallway. From there, the main entrance was wide open. And then we were outside in the middle of the night. There weren't even any guards around. The lack of security taunted me to escape into the darkness, but I wasn't foolish enough to think I'd make it out there. This country had many dark and dangerous things lurking in the night, or so I had heard. Even without those grim rumors, this land was unfamiliar to me, so I had no hopes of finding my way to safety. Beyond all that, I was confused and intrigued by what the marshal was doing. Where is he taking us? Looking around, I recognized that we had been imprisoned at the guard barracks near the town's north exit. We went along the edge of the building, turning the corner. Then we saw a few tents that had been set up, faintly candlelit from within. The marshal took us inside the nearest tent. When we arrived inside, the attending nurse excused herself and quickly departed. Oh mercy, they were affected too. Inside there were 2 cots. The nearest was occupied by one of the watchmen that had been there that night, his body naked except for a seat over his lower half. His forehead was sweaty and his beady eyes stared out into nothingness. The signs indicated he was lost in a waking fever dream, unaware of his surroundings. The other bed was too occupied. It was a white seat that molded itself over a still shape of a man. My heart sank as I realized it was a dead body. I had never seen a dead person before. Somehow it was even more terrible to recognize the shape under the seat rather than seeing the body itself. I looked back at the other one and noticed he was breathing quickly. The feverish survivor carried upon his flesh the same bluish tendrils that I had, except it spanned across the torso, through the shoulders of the neck, and down the arms and wrists. It would be a good guess that under the covers, the blue roots continued down the legs. Seeing it at such a scale made me think of it like a long, winding, throbbing vein, a pulse as mine had, but it was weak and fast, betraying his racing heart. There was also the surge on his arm, the same shape that I wore on my belly. The day after it all happened, this blue thing appeared on him, as well as that surgeon. I went to put my hand on my abdomen. Now that I was aware of it, I could almost feel it in sync with the beating in my chest. I counted each moment and began to feel sick to my stomach. It was beating faster now. Alan was wrong. This was not my freak awakening. The shattered dagger had turned me into a pervader as it did to these men, and it also caused this affliction. At first there were only a few twisting clusters on their legs, flanks around their elbows and neck, the places where their armor did not protect them from the shrapnel. But they started to grow, this veiny corruption, expanded and connected into one piece. Then they kept growing. They grew and grew until they became as you see them now. That one over there perished earlier, and this one. I fear he will soon follow. There are 2 others as well, with only minor injuries. They have been sent back to the headquarters at Kor Halan, for processing on account of their new surgeons. At the time they did not have that corruption, I imagine the same fate would befall them. The monster turned to Alan and pleaded, "Please tell me you know something of this condition." Alan stepped closer to the bodies, inspected them, touched them as he had touched me earlier. He had to come to one that had died and lifted his cover. I mustered the will not to stare at the dead man's face. The snake wound was there, but the color had faded and no longer pulsed. How did he die? He just gave up on life. His heart and breathing quickened and stopped. The nurses tried to administer stimulants, but nothing. Alan scratched at his head and turned, trying to organize his memories. His eyes darted left and right, working the details of his mind. This, I think it's Naganti magic. It has to be. That dagger was a Naganti mate. It must have caused all this. Old power such volatility. It must be why the dagger exploded. That sounds well. Alan, this is not the time to get lost in your ancient puzzles. The only thing I care about is if you can fix it. Alan shook his head and paced around nervously. I don't know. Not here. I need a lab, a sanctuary, library to study, time to research this. Oh, mercy. There's another dagger in the crates. I needed to investigate this power. Do you have it? No. The thief that escaped stole one of the daggers. I think they wanted both of them. Okay. When I checked the items, there was one other thing with similar power. It was a broken breastplate. It might hold a similar charge to that dagger. Get that. We destroyed every item in those crates. What? A new directive came to us yesterday. The Grand Council decreed that all confiscated enchanted items are to be destroyed. Further, I was instructed to end our deal with you afterwards. You would have been arrested either way. No. Damn the Watts. Damn you, your utter disdain. Damn it all. Alan was fuming. He set the table at the right side of the tent, smashed his fist on top of it, and caused the bowl to spill. I almost thought he would pick up the table and throw it in a fit of rage. He had never shown himself to be this angry before. It was strange to think he was even capable of it. The monster rose to meet his fury. Don't get angry with me, Bear. Tell me how to fix this. The Watts can't fix anything. All you do is destroy. I need that thing. I needed something. Alan turned away and leaned on the table that he had just abused. A few seconds later, he had gathered his thoughts. He turned to war sorrow on his face. You have to let us go, Sir Marshal. I must travel to a sanctuary and find others who can help me figure this out. And I must find another dagger. Every sanctuary has its own relic collection, and I may find one among them. If I had such a dagger, I may be able to find out what is happening. Sir Marshal? What is it, Jim, sir? If the directive came this morning, it probably has not reached some of our catches. The safe houses, yes. There are a few in the region. Good thinking, Jim, sir. Go check the directory. See if any of them have any items of this kind. He turned to Alan for clarification. What is it you needed? A Naganti dagger. I don't know how your people catalog these things, but you might have classified them as northern or of Boetius. Check for any kind of dagger or tool. Something that might be used to draw blood. Get to it. Jim Shaw ran off. As he departed, Marshall stared his way sadly. Your son, he has been affected too, hasn't he? The monster's face lost all pretense of authority. He turned halfway and lowered his gaze to the ground. Jim Shaw was struck once below the hip. The mark has grown on him as well. I feel for him. Sir Marshal, if it is as you say it is, then I do not have time to do anything for this man lying here. But Weymouth and your son, if they have only the beginnings of this injury, whatever it is, We cannot waste any time. The monster paced about nervously once more. He wrestled with his own thoughts, shook his head, considered aspects, but the problem was too great. He had no good answers, no good options or decisions to make. Frustration and worry clouded his mind. I will tell the prosecutor I'll release you. He turned away and sighed again, and I will be putting myself in jeopardy in the same breath. Why, don't you have the authority to do this? Matters like these, where watchmen turn to the pervaders, they are highly controversial. It is not supposed to happen. We take steps against it. These were not awakenings, sir. All of them were struck by the dagger's metal. All of them gained surgicals. It could not be a coincidence. I see that as well as you do, Alan. But the Inquisition has no solutions for something like this. It will not kill to save my son. He went to rub his forehead stressfully. Mercy, oh mercy. This may turn out even worse. It means of turning people to pervaders. The prosecutor will come and he will see these men and their surgicals. He will hear of the men sent back to the Pentagon with their surgicals. It will not be difficult to figure out that my son suffered the same fate. He will ask his whereabouts and I will not have a good answer for him. He will know that I unleashed a watchman pervader into the world. Such a thing is forbidden by the watch. He stared at Alan through haunted eyes. Do you know what happens to watchmen who turn to pervaders? Alan stared back. No answer came, but the silence told me more than enough. I cannot resign my son to that fate. I will not. I refuse. You must take him with you. You must keep him safe. Find a cure for him. I beg you. I will look after him. You have my word. The monster exasperatedly breathed out. He gasped. As tall as he stood, it seemed like any moment he would crumble under despair. Sir, why not send word to the sanctuaries, tell pervaders what happened here, ask for their help? They will be interested to learn of this strange affliction, if not for the melody, then for the surgeons that came with it. Perhaps they will hear you out and come with a solution before I am able to. It is of no use. That door is closed. We've angered them, the sanctuaries. They won't speak to us anymore. There has been too much fighting. Umbro. They provoked us and we answered. We took the bait. Now they're all against us. Tributariat, enchanters, seekers, all of it. Even if that were not the case, the Grand Inquisitor has grown sick of lenity. He does not want to foster peace any longer. I will not find help elsewhere. You are my only hope. He murmured to himself. There's no better choice. See this great man reduced to near whimper caused a swirling void of dark emotion to rack within me. I saw this monster now without any mask of status or authority. He only showed love and the peril that had surfaced with it. It made me think of father. I saw him in this morsel. If he were here, I would see this anguish doubled. The idea of meeting my own death seemed more real to me than ever before. It finally dawned on me. There was a death sentence inscribed somewhere on my body or soul. I don't even know how long I have left, knowing would it be any better? I found something. The young watchman closed the tent flap as he entered. He held out a piece of paper and handed it over to his father. The monster turned to receive the paper. He had straightened to regain his composure again, wore the veneer of strength and surety. There is a sword's catch, Nora, for here. There are engraved daggers in the inventory. The monster studied the note and nodded, then turned to look at his son. We've been there before. Do you remember the way? The watchman nodded. Zimsor, you will take these pervaders north and find those daggers. Do not return here until your condition is cured. Help Alan find what it is he needs to solve this. Do you understand? What about Umbro? They have one of the daggers. You could track them down still. I will attend to that, but you must go. Sir, if I go now, this surgery is on my body. I would be breaking my oaths if I left. Fuck the oaths. This curse will be lifted, and your surgery will go with it. It must happen. You will not suffer for it. I demand it. I order you to save your life. There will be no justice for you here. You did not awaken as a pervader. You are innocent. The Inquisition and Pervaders will not see it, but you are innocent. I will never let them lay their hands on you. But you must play your part. You must let Alan help you. Father, do not defy me, please, Jimsaw. Do as I say. I cannot. I cannot lose you too. Both father and son looked pained. Jimsaw opened his mouth to say something but held back. For the longest time, he was unable to find the right words. Finally, he managed to whisper through his grief. They'll lock you up for sending us away. No, it is nonsense. I am the Marshal of the Watch. Not even the Grand Inquisitor would dare move against me. Even I could read that his words were hollow. The Marshal would betray the Inquisition with his accent. You must not worry for my sake. Worry for your own hides. You cannot rely on help from the Watch. Even if in the wake of all this, the Inquisition sets off strongly against Umbro, you will not find their help or mercy. Avoid them. Avoid patrols. They will send men after you sooner or later. I will try to keep them off your track for as long as possible. The prosecutor will arrive in 2 days from now. You must be long gone by then. You must hurry. There are only a few hours left of the night. We will use those to rest for the road ahead. Sleep did little against my weariness, but I awoke at the approach of dawn all the same. We gathered in the office to plan for the journey. The Marshal had provided us with current information, mainly about where to expect several patrols and bandit hotspots. Thankfully, the domain doesn't extend into the Thief north of here, which is where we are headed. Umbro could be a concern, though. Hopefully we don't stumble into those thieves again. Or maybe we should, to try to get that dagger back. The Marshal has also given us a map that guides us on our journey. You must travel halfway up the coast here. Eventually you will come upon a fork which leads to skies in Miriam. At that point you should be outside of the domain, but keep your wits about you. Umbro may still be lurking. Follow the road to Miriam. The cat is hidden beyond that village. You will not find it without Jimsaw's help. That's all the help I can give you for now. Are you ready to leave? I need to pick up some things from my shop. It will only take a little while. Fine, but hurry. You cannot waste daylight. Ellen turned to me. Raymond, you should probably make sure you didn't leave anything behind at the worker camp. It will be a while before we can return to this town. I nodded. The Marshal didn't look too pleased with our risk to delay, but he restrained himself from complaining. While Alan was checking in with his shop, I returned to the camp to say goodbye to Jonah. You're leaving? I have to. Things have gotten so crazy, I don't know what will happen to me. With all this Pervader stuff and the Inquisition, this sickness is also so crazy. I might die, Jonah. I'm scared. Oh, laddie, you poor boy. His arms went wide and pulled me into a tight hug. I should have taken you with me at the docks. I never should have told you to keep working there with that Pervader. It's not his fault, Jonah. I know, laddie. I'm upset and looking rather blank. Still, old man should know better. He looked at me through dear eyes. It's dangerous out there, you hear? Take care of yourself. Remember how tough it were when you first came here? Everything be cruel in many places, not just in this here town. Always watch your back. I'll be heading east soon to see my daughter. I'll be going and won't be coming back. If you get through this, send me a letter. Michelle won't rest easy unless I hear from you, so you can't fail. You hear? I hear you. Thanks for everything, Jonah. I'll be praying for you, laddie. Go, and don't you dare forget about me. I didn't realize how much it would hurt to leave Jonah like this, to leave him with worry. He treated me almost as if I was his own son. I owed him my life twice already. and the only thing I could give back to him was concern. And there was this much pain between us, I can't imagine what Jim saw his father feeling. While I'm happy I got to say goodbye to Jonah, knowing that he is worried for me gives me the strength and the will to push on. On my way back, I met with Alan in front of his shop. He had changed into fresh clothes and carried his cloak upon his shoulders. Did you get what you need? Yeah. He nodded. Silence gathered between us as we stood by in awkward lethargy. Both of us were tired and much too troubled for conversation. We made our way back to the office to pick up Jim's son. When we arrived, the marshal was waiting next to his son, who had abandoned his Southern armor in favor of less conspicuous travel clothes. Are you ready to go? We're ready. Jim's son glanced briefly at his father sadly, then turned a step forwards. Before he could move further, the marshal pulled his son close to him. He hugged Jim's son tightly, his hand holding his son's head pressed under his chin. The young watchman stood there clumsily in his father's sudden affection. The marshal kissed his forehead, then broke their hug and held him by the shoulders at arm's length. He stared him up and down as he smiled wistfully. You're growing to a fine, strong man. I'm proud of you. You will return to me safe and sound, all right? I know you will, because you never disappointed me. Tell me you will return to me safely. I will, Father. The marshal hugged his son one last time. I love you, son. I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too. They released each other, and Jim's son stepped away. The three of us walked out peacefully into the public square as if it were a new day like any other, a day ripe with opportunity. Outside, the birds were singing, the market bustled, the ships were loading and unloading, and the children ran and played at stick sword fighting. I tasted the free and open air. Although we were finally out of the jail cell, I felt more trapped than ever. Nobody knew the looming threat that hung over us. Nobody knew what had happened to us. Nobody even looked at us. We were all just passerby in the street. All around me lay a wicked sense of gloom. Jim saw felt it too. We carried something sinister in our bodies. Although Alan did not share our burden, it weighed on him just the same. Such a grand trio we were. Two dead men walking towards an early grave, and another one to try and steer us away from that course. The road carried us north, cutting in ways across the green hills. The grass beneath our feet kept yellowing the further we pushed on, and I couldn't tell if it was a regional quality or because of the evening shift. I watched in silence, wrestling with my own thoughts. The reality of our situation was still sinking in. All the events that led up to now raced through my mind. The day everything went wrong was burned into my memory. At least it started well. Waking up with Jonah in the sack and showing him the notebook. Even after the dagger exploded and gave me this infliction and this surgery, he still came to see me, to defend me against the marshal's interrogation. I'm missing my wedding. Would I ever see him again? It was too bitter. The day everything went wrong was burned into my memory. At least it started well. Waking up with Jonah in the sack and showing him the notebook. Even after the dagger exploded, it gave me this inflection and this surgery. He still came to see me, to defend me against the marshal's interrogation. I'm missing my wedding. Would I never see him again? It was too bitter to think it. I may not survive this journey. Even if I do, I probably won't find him back in Chariot. With how desolate the road has been, I was starting to think we wouldn't see anyone else either. When we would climb the top of a hill, sometimes we could spot the Oral Sea out west of the horizon. The occasional whistling of wind and distant chirping were welcome distractions. None of us were talkative either, only our steps broke the silence. There's too much peace and quiet out here. Alan and I had spoken a few empty words to each other. Apart from that, any serious talk was withheld. Jim's was particularly reclusive. He was walking a good distance ahead of me and Alan. It was a numb and brooding journey. The reflection was not the only thing to weigh on my mind. It had been an I had been on edge, worried about the possibility of stumbling across a civil watch patrol, although I knew they wouldn't be looking for us so soon. Besides, we were outside of the domain already. The fork in the road was behind us now, and we were on our way to Miriam. The marshal had withdrawn his soldiers from the area, yet he warned of others who could meet us, agents of different branches of the Civil Watch. After all, the safe houses could be in use right now without us knowing. Their purpose was to offer a safe haven for Civil Watch agents who were out and about in less than official capacity since they were outside of the domain. Johnson would be our diplomat in such a situation, having knowledge of secret signals and phrases to convince any watchman who would be suspicious of us. These codes communicated their loyalties on the stealth. Such methods were needed because he had left his identifying armor behind, so as not to flaunt his allegiances. The setting sun was starting to do away with the blue of the sky, taking my unease with it. The gentle chill of the evening will soon caress me. If we are to be successful, we must not lose heart. I tried to meditate, to bring myself to calm. Fatigue managed to work it out better than my own will. However, nothing could completely lift my anxiety. This was our second and last leg of the journey. It's been hours since we took a break or eaten. Dusk began to fall. I suspected we were nearing our destination. Only Jimsar knew for certain, for he had been this way once before. We were told it would be about a day's journey, and twilight was nearly upon us. None of us were well rested when we left Chariot. That night we were embroiled in planning and packing, leaving just a scant couple of hours for study. Letting my thoughts unwind away from concern, awareness fell upon my body. This trip took a lot out of me. I don't remember when my legs started aching, but I do remember deciding to ignore it. Alan seemed to be as vigorous as when we departed. He must be in better shape than I thought. I should ask his age. Maybe he's not as old as he looks. He was to be a few years younger than me, and he had been trained for combat. He didn't show any signs of fatigue. Could he still claim to be a watchman now that we had become fugitives? Back in time, he would carry his heavy armor with adept strength. Weariness will not come to him now that he is without burden. I really hope we get there soon. I'd be embarrassed if I was the one who had to call for a break now that we are so close to our destination. The road to Miriam wasn't very well trodden. We didn't meet anyone else along the way. In my exhaustion, I had nearly forgotten the reason for this journey, or maybe I wanted to forget. Jimsar knew the way to the safe house beyond the tiny village, where we hoped to find a Nagati dagger. We had walked in silence, barely exchanging words. I don't think I've even spoken 2 sentences to Jimsar. Even though we shared the same condition, he didn't seem to recognize our kinship. "Hey, Alan?" "Yes." His voice was whispery and hoarse, as if just rousing from slumber. In awareness of it, he cleared his throat. I decided to prod Alan further about my new powers. "So, can you teach me some magic?" I think I'll stop right here. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop right here. It's a little short, but I'm gonna stop right here because can't seem to be talking properly, Been for a little while, but anyway, so they left Chariot. If they stay in Chariot, then this official would come, and most likely they will have them put in prison or Maybe they might have put them to jail, to death even. But I think they probably would have been taken to a real prison where they would have been tortured. And apparently, the Watts won't care if Jim Sawyer is a Wattsman. They don't care that he's a Wattsman. The fact that he's a Pervader now means that he'll have to suffer the same fate as those who are guilty of being Pervaders. I mean, he's still very loyal to the Watts, but that loyalty won't mean anything to this official who's supposed to be in Chariot. Because even he is loyal to the Watts, he still has to suffer the same cruel fate Pervaders go through. So it wouldn't be safe for him to stay there in Chariot with his father. So his father begged him to go with Alan and Weymouth and leave town. So he's traveling out of Chariot with Alan and Weymouth, and I don't know what's going to happen with the father, who is the commander. So but that was a big moment there. And it showed that the commander, he had feelings too. He had love in his heart too for his son. He wasn't just this stern, cold, serious commander with authority. He was like a regular person too. He has feelings. He loves his son, and he wants the best for his son. He doesn't want any harm to inflict upon his son. So that was a big part there. I really like the commander more now that he's willing to put himself in danger so his son doesn't. So they're on the run, and they're going to head further north, away from the domain where the Seven Watts has, and they're gonna keep going north until they get into territory that is run by Pervaders. And I think they'll be safe up there, and they'll try to look for a place for Weymouth, some kind of place, to get help. And then because both of them are in danger of dying, because those stretch marks on them, they look kind of like veins. If they don't get something to stop those veins from growing, they'll die. It will affect their hearts, and I think it will stop the heart, I guess. I'm not sure, but if they don't find anything soon to stop it, they'll die. It will keep spreading across their body, and they'll just die. So it is a life and death situation for both Weymouth and Alan. Well, no, I mean for both Weymouth and Jim Sawyer. Not Alan, though. So we'll continue with Pervader next time. Thank y'all very much for watching. Goodbye.